Welcome to School.Sys 2020. School.Sys is an application developed on Alpha 5 Rapid Application Development Platform, and it is intended for use by high schools to manage information in the school. It is intended to help school managers or school principals or head teachers to assemble the information in the college or in the high school in one place where it is available for use for management purposes. When you start it, it starts with this panel called Start, and to enter you click Start. It will require you to enter a password. Once the password is correct, you will be taken to the main panel for School.Sys. On the main panel, there are 10 modules, 10 main modules, which include Student Manager, Academic Records, Fees Manager, Class Builder, Books Manager, Teacher's Profile, Income, Expenditure, HR Manager, and Salaries. If you come to this button and say Display Modules Description and click it, it will show you a description of all the modules, what they do. And you can click it again to remove the description. We will start the video by looking at Student Manager. Let's click it. This is the Student Manager panel, and it has several tabs, which include Student Details, Parent and Guardian Details, Health Remarks, Conduct and Testimonial, Decision, Attendance, and School Open and Close. I will explain what these do. The first one is to enter the student's details, which includes the number, the student number, the name, date of birth, year of admission, and class upon admission. In the Parent Guardian tab, you enter the name and the contact telephone of the parent or guardian, the email, and the address. In the Health Remarks, you enter remarks concerning the child's or the student's health. For example, you might have a student who is epileptic, and the school needs to know about that. And you also enter certain remarks pertaining to that health, the student's health. The next one is the Conduct and Testimonials. The student conduct is a submodule that is used at the end of the term to report the conduct of the student in school, and that is done by clicking on this button to start the student conduct submodule. But let us close that for now. And the testimonial is used by the principal or head teacher to give a testimonial about the student, and that is it. But again, let's leave it for now. Then we can move to the Decision, Attendance, School Opening and Close tab. This Decision or General Remarks tab is used by the class teacher to make a decision about whether a student is promoted at the end of the year or asked to repeat, and that is done in this submodule. Attendance also tells about the attendance of the child in school. Sometimes not all students attend school every day, and there needs to be a record of who attends and who doesn't attend. So that is done here. So every time there is an absentee, the record is kept, and at the end of the term, the class teacher uses this to upload the attendance record of the students. And school closing and reopening dates are entered here for the purpose of it appearing on the end of the year or end of the term report card. So all these are modules and submodules in Student Manager. Let us close the Student Manager now and move on to Academic Records. Academic Records is used to keep a record of student scores in tests and examinations. This also helps to generate the report card for the students. On this panel, we have two tabs. We have the student details tab, and then we have the subject details. So the subjects are entered into this tab, and at the end of it all, we can generate a report card by clicking this button and generating a report card. What the system does is to gather the reports from the database and prepare it for report cards. So here we are ready to print the report card. So for example, when I say print single report card, it will ask me for which class, and I have to enter the class, and for which student, this student number, then for which term and year, which is this, is 1st 2016. And when I say OK, the student's report card should come out, and here it is for the student Mary Ngwenya, and with these subjects, and it will show the closing date for the school and reopening date for the next term, and also it will show the school fees balance for this student. We will see that later when we go to Fees Manager. Then the number of school days that were there and the number of days that the student was absent. And below here is where we see the reports from the conduct and attendance and the student's conduct. We can see it here. Is based on 4 parameters: the respect for authority, the general behavior, the academic commitment, the attitude to correction. We also see here the general remarks, and then we will see what grade. This is a key for the grade, and the school stamp will be attached there, and the signature will come there. So this is the report card, and this is report card for a specific student, but we can get report card for a class. So all we need to do in this case will be to enter the class and the year, and we will get the report cards for every member of that class. Next, let us move to Fees Manager. And with Fees Manager, we will close this video to avoid it being too long. So in Fees Manager, the record of fees, school fees paid by the student is presented or is kept. Here we have 2 tabs, the student details and the fee statement, and then we have the fees installment on the next tab. Let's look at the first tab. The first tab tells us the student details, which are this, and then we have the total payable fees, and this is the amount that has been paid, and this is the outstanding balance. And we can see that here when we go to fees installment, you can see that this installment 1, 2 and 3, and when you sum them up you will come to this amount. So as the student continues to pay installments, the installments are entered and added by the system, and that is fee manager. When we come back, we will start again with class builder and go on. Next, let us look at class builder. Class builder is a module used to divide students into classes or assign them into classes at the beginning of the school year. And once the students are put in their classes, it is easier to manage them from there. And a class usually comprises of students that, for example, take the same courses or same subjects. They also pay the same bills or the same school fees. They pay the same exam fees. So you class the students according to certain criteria that is common to them, and that is the basis of the class builder. It groups students together and puts them in classes that are easy to manage, and that is what the class builder does. The way it happens is that usually a class teacher will be appointed for each class, and the class teacher will assemble the names of the students in an Excel file which can be imported from here. The file can also be exported to an Excel file based on an existing class, for example, which may be going to the next class without necessarily changing. So a new class is built by entering new and then importing from the Excel file. And once that class has been imported, you can save that class, and then you can, in order to build a class together, for example, you can select the class. So for example, if I select 1A and I select this class, I can now carry out certain operations with them. For example, I can change the school fees to a particular amount. So for example, here we have the school fees as 12,000, but if I want to convert it to 15,000, for example, all I would need to do is to say all I need to do when I select a class and select it like that, and say the class name, for example, is 1A, let's say 1A, and I run that query, then on this panel all the classes that are all the students that are 1A will be shown. And once I do that, I can close this and come here and build that class and say school fees, for example, I can change it to 15,000, and when I say OK, all the students' school fees now will be 15,000, and that is billing the class. Then once I've billed the class, either for the school fees or the exam fees, I can post these fees. Now when I post these fees, they will go to fees manager, and that will be the required fees which the students are required to pay. That is what class builder does. The next module is books manager. You see, in most of Africa, students are issued with books. They do not buy textbooks, and they use the book for that particular year and submit it back to the school, and the same books will be used by the next class, the class coming after them. And this is how the schools manage books in terms of reuse books. So in order for that to happen, we have some sub-modules here. The first one is the book register. What the book register does is to register any new book that will be used by the school. And once that is done, the book will now be available for use by the student. Next is the unique book numbers. This is a module developed to assign unique numbers to individual copies of a particular book. What this means is that even though a book has the same title, the same ISBN number, but the unique number will be different. This means each copy carries a unique number. And the reason for this is the fact that students steal books that do not belong to them, and they end up submitting this when it is time to submit or return the books which were issued to them. So this system helps us make a book unique. So when a book is assigned or issued to a student, at the end of the year, the student must submit that same book, and that book can only be credited to him if the unique number at the time of issue equals the unique number at the time of submission. And that is what unique number does. So for example, in this panel now, we have the first copy of Prism Alive is PA001, and then there is another copy which is PA002, and so on. So a particular book or ISBN of a book remains the same, but the unique numbers will change, and this will be rendered in barcodes also, which are stuck to the book and are not allowed to be torn out by the students. So that is what unique book numbers does. Then we have the book issue. Book issue is used to issue books to students at the beginning of the year. So for example, this student, Mary Ngwenya, with this student number, has been issued with these 3 books. So what it means is that these 3 books must be the same 3 books that will be returned by Mary Ngwenya at the end of the year. So here we have the book status saying issued, and therefore, and this will be saved, and then at the end of the year, when we do book returns, the same Mary Ngwenya must come back with the same 3 books that were issued to her. And when the book has the same number, this is the unique book number, with the book that has the same number, and the returned book has the same number as the issued book, this will say it has been returned. For example, on this line now, we have this book saying 0 because here the book number has an X, but it doesn't have an X here. Now we have this also, the book numbers are the same, and here the book numbers are the same, the unique book numbers. But when we say set book status, when we click set book status, the one that is not the same book as the one issued to her at the beginning will be marked owing. In other words, she has not returned the book that was issued to her. She has returned someone else's book, and therefore the rest of the book The other two books which are correct, which have the matching unique numbers, will be marked return. And once this has happened, there is any book here that is owing, it means an invoice can be generated to her for payment for those books or for that book. So when we say post owing to invoice, this will generate, and that will generate an invoice for her to pay. When you come back to the front tab and you say issue a clearance to that student, the system will refuse to issue a clearance because there is a book still owing. But if you say issue invoice, the system will issue an invoice to this student, and that invoice must be paid before the students can get a clearance. And that is how these modules work. The last module is still under development, and this function is meant to give a real-time account of books as they are being issued. That is, the school will know that I have 40 copies of so-so book and I've issued out 35, so the system will be telling me I have 5 in stock. That is the current book stock, and it is in development. Next, let us look at teacher's profile. What the teacher's profile does is keep a record of all teachers in the school. This is a requirement of the Ministry of Education in most of Southern African countries. What we have here is a teacher. These are his details: the name, the date of birth, and the subject that he teaches. And then we have his employment history, the previous employer, and the address of the previous employer, and he was employed from this date to this date, and on this date he started this current employment. Now, many teachers are not natives or nationals of the country. They may have come from other countries, so there is a requirement to keep the immigration record. And this teacher is an Ugandan. Is a Ugandan, and this is his passport number and his immigration status and permit number. Then this will accommodate the certificates of the teacher. It will be scanned and uploaded into these slots, and that is teacher's details. Teacher's profile. Then we have income. Income is the panel that the school uses to keep a record of all incomes. So incomes will be entered into here. Once you start this panel, it starts by by giving you a blank form, and you can enter that into that blank form the income that you want to report, and the amount will be entered. Let's say the amount is 5,000, and then the head, that is the purpose for which that income is being received. So maybe it is a donation. Then the receipt number, the school receipt number that is issued for that particular income. Then the person from whom it is being received. Say, let's say it's received from myself, and then you can tell a story of the transaction. Say a donation from Mr. Lekan, and then you can save it, and that is income. Then you can show income browse, will show you all the incomes that you have received, and this is the income browse. So the latest income is this one, which is from me today, and these were previous incomes. Then I will come back to this to this when we do expenditure, because it's also available in expenditure. So let's close this. Expenditure is just the same. You do the expenditure, enter the date, enter the amount, the purpose, and everything. And you can also show expenditure browse. So the expenditure that are here is only the one expenditure here is for transport, and it's 1,200. And now we can look at what is called the income statement. The income statement shows expenditure and income over a particular period. So let's go back. Let's say January 2019, January 1st 2019 to date, for example. And when we say okay, this is the income statement from that period to date, so all the income total has been 7,600 and the expenditure total has been this. So what you get is a balance of this amount, and that is the income statement. And that is how income and expenditure works. The next thing we go to is the HR manager. The HR manager is important because the non-teaching staff are employed by the schools directly and not by the Teaching Service Commission, which employs teachers. So the HR module is basically for non-teaching personnel. And here, all that we see here is the personnel name, date of birth, position for which they are employed, their qualification, telephone number, and job description. Then we have the salary, the annual salary, the status of that employee, and the address. And the day the employee resigns, the date will be entered here, and you save it. And that is how the employee manager works. Then we have the salaries. Salaries is prepared on a monthly basis, and you need to enter the personnel name and other details. Once you choose the personnel name, all the other details will be entered except the salary month and the year and some others. Let's see how that happens. So if I'm preparing a new salary for this Betty Cook, so some of those details will be entered already once I enter the name, which is the date of birth, the annual salary. So I'll need to enter the month, the salary month. Let's say is for April, and then the year is 2021, and it covers from the 1st of April to the 30th of April. And is there any deduction? Let's say the employee did take some loan from the school, let's say 100, and if there's any other deduction, let's say another 50, so this will be the salary for the month. And then I can make a note for the deductions, say salary advance of 150. And then the payment mode I'm using, let's say I'm paying in cash, and the reference, so I can say Betty Cook 002, and then I save that. Now there are two things I can do here. And the first one is I can print out the salary slip for Betty Cook, but I will not do that because we will be looking at reports, and we can do that from there. But you can do the monthly payroll report. That is, it will give you a summary of all salaries you pay for a particular month. So let's say April 2021, and when I say okay, it will give me a list of all salaries that I'm paying for April 2021. Let's close that, and that is about salaries. Now there is a special panel for reports. But before we go to reports, let me show you EServices. EServices is for parents to use to connect to the system in the school, and they can do three things. They can check their children's reports or results. They can check the school fees statement, and they can view any notices that has been published by the school. Let's see this one, check results. You need to put in the child's class, the child's number, and then the term and year for that child, for which you are looking for the report, and the report will be given to you. Then you can check the fees statement by entering the child's student number, and this is the statement. So for this child, a total has been paid, and this is the outstanding total. This is the total amount supposed to be paid. So a parent can use this to get those information, and this is to view notices that are published by the school. And you can go from one to the latest. This is the latest, this is the previous one, and thereby the school can communicate with the parent. Let's take a break, and then we will look at reports. Now let us look at reports. The reports have been presented here in groups, and the groups corresponding to the modules. So for each module we have a report group. So for example, let's start with student manager reports. Student manager reports contains reports for student profile, ID card for a specified student, group of ID cards, testimonials, and so on. And if these reports are not enough, or a client or user requires more report or a special report, the client can click here to submit a request for an additional or a custom report, and that is done by filling in this form and submitting it. And we will develop that report, ship it to the customer, who can now patch it onto their existing installation of School.Sys. So here we have student report parameters, or student report and student manager reports in this panel. In the next panel we have reports that has to do with academic records. In the next one we have reports about fees manager, that is fee balance, outstanding, fee statement for a specified student. And then we have class builder. So we have these two reports available for class builder, and then books manager. These are the reports that are available for books manager. We will still come back to look at a few of these. Teachers profile reports are there. Then we have the income reports. We also have the expenditure reports, and we have the HR manager reports, as well as the salaries reports. So let's look at a few reports. For example, let's look at the student manager. Let's look at ID card for a specified student. We enter the student's number, and that is the ID card that can be printed for this particular student. Then let us look at the school attendance for that same student. KB0001. So this is the attendance. So for that student, the school days were 105. She was absent for 2 days, and that is the attendance report. And those are the reports for student from student manager. Let's look at a fees manager report. For example, the fee balance outstanding for a specified student. The same student, let's look at our fee balance. Then we say okay, and that is the fee balance outstanding. So the main fees is, the total payable is 8,000, paid is 4,000, balance is 4,000. So that is the student, the fee balance for a particular student. Let us also look at let's see, expenditure. Let's see expenditure on a specific date. I don't remember the date. Let's say expenditure within a date range, for example, like I did before. Let's see, from January 1, January 1, 2019 to date. These are the expenditure that we have recorded, and that is expenditure reports. Lastly, let's look at one more report. Let's look at salaries. Let's look at the salary slip for a particular employee. Let's say for let's say for April 2021, and the personnel name is Betty Cook, and the year is 2021. When we say okay, it says nothing is existing. So let's see, let's go to salaries and see Betty Cook, April 2021. So Betty Cook actually has a salary. Let's see, let's try that again. Let's see, salaries report, salary slip for what month? April. Maybe I didn't type it properly. Then Betty Cook, and the year is 2021. When I say okay, so this is the salary slip for Betty Cook for April 2021, and that is how reports work. So we have reports for different models, and you can choose by just pointing and clicking. And if you want a particular kind of report which is not here, it can be requested for by going to more. Thank you. And the rest is about support. Support tells you how we support the system. If you need support, how to contact us, and the kind of support we give, including the training, and it's just an information module. Then license tells you what kind of license you have for School.Sys. User guide will tell you the location of the help or the user guide. In this case, we supply it on a CD, which you can copy onto your computer. Then we have the backup. The backup takes you through the routine for backup, which is started with this notice. It says in order to backup files, all open windows must be closed. Okay, to close all open windows. When you say okay, the windows will be closed and you will get this backup prompt, which you follow step by step. But for now, let's cancel it, and hopefully our windows will be restored. And that is how School.Sys work. I hope you liked it, and I hope to receive your order soon. Thank you.